which I guess maybe that's one of the reasons why you don't like the whole online aspect of things.
Yeah.
Besides the market
Online's
susceptibility,
different.
I guess.
So I think the thing with online, the thing that's come back to it for me is that, we don't do online sales. We do have an online store, but our online store is for
Pickup only.
pickup
Or
only.
delivery within.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I found about cards is that cards are an ecosystem, and that, if you've got a local market for cards, so if you come to me and say, hey man, I'd really like to pick up this card, I get paid in like 2 weeks, and I go, yeah, cool, I can hold it aside for you, or I can wait, or I can keep an eye on it, because I know that you're going to come back and pick it up. It's that sort of client versus customer thing. Versus if I have an online store, I can't silo that card. So if someone orders it from Vancouver or Texas, they pay their money, we ship it out to them. You come back in 2 weeks and say, "Hey man, I got paid. I'd like that thing." I'm like, "Well, it's gone. Like somebody ordered it online. It's vanished." That client will all of a sudden go, "Well, that kind of sucks. I was excited for it. I planned for it. And now it's not there. I guess I'll go online and order it because I can't get it from my local guy," which just starts a cycle of basically, if you're taking those cards out to me, if I sell a card to somebody in Texas, when they go to sell that card, when they're done with it, they're not selling it back to me. They're not shipping it back to me in Canada. They're not like doing an online trade.
It's now in the Texas ecosystem.
Yeah, it's now in the Texas ecosystem, or it goes to like some of the bigger players that are out there that buy cards, or it would go to like a Grand Prix when those were a thing. And the challenge is that if you are constantly taking cards from your local ecosystem and sending them out into the ether, you run out of the cards to support your local play. And when you do that, people come in, want to support you, want to shop with you, but you don't have what they're looking for. They go online and sort of self-perpetuate. So we buy, if you trade into us, we buy everything, like high-end bulk, we buy it all. And my approach has always been that I don't know what my clients are going to want. So I'm just going to try to have all of it. So if you come in, why do I have, 47 polluted deltas from cons? Because someone wanted to sell them to me, and I don't know how many I'll need at some point. There's definitely the argument of saying, well, anything past like the 13th or the 20th is probably something you're never going to sell. Yes, totally true. But I want to keep those cards in a local ecosystem, because if I don't and they wander off somewhere else, and there's a run on it, or it's something that gets super popular, there's a chance that I'll never see those cards again. If I sell them off to, somewhere, outside of our market, they may just never wander their way back, and it's something where, to be able to support community, be able to support play, you need to have cards in your ecosystem for the decks that people want to play. And if you don't have that, it becomes really hard to build that up. And once you sort of like start offloading it, it becomes a real challenge to kind of keep it healthy. So a lot of what I've seen, for some stores that haven't made it, is that if you're going to do online single sales, I would argue you need to be willing to spend and buy in the way that some of the bigger players do. So things like Star City or Face or Channel Fireball back when they existed. It's stuff where like you need to be buying and selling at bigger events. You need to be having automated buy lists. You need to treat it as a strictly, commercial transaction, and do your buying accordingly if you're going to do the online space to be effective at it. Because otherwise, all you're going to do is you're going to take your cards from your local market, ship them out somewhere else. And if you're not replenishing that stock, you're just going to run out of inventory in the long run. So there's been stores that, I've gone to where they've tried to do the online sales at a relatively smaller store, and all they've succeeded in doing is sort of saying, well, I can't service the customers I have in person because I don't have the stock. So I need to sell the things I can sell to the online people, which means I just don't have the stock from an in-store person when he comes back in a couple of weeks. So it's you just kind of grind yourself down. And then, there's another asterisk of it is like, I hate shipping stuff. It's something where like I hate answering emails. Like, if I have to have more than 2 or 3 email transactions with something, I'm just completely over it. So it's something where, someone going, well, I want this thing and that thing, and this wasn't right. The benefit of in person is that if you are someone who is like, the stuff we sell is in near mint condition by and large, some of it is slight play. Anything less than that, we weed out in the buying process. But if you're someone who's very particular about how your card looks, the benefit of in person versus online is that if I send you, if you are come in person and say, you pulled this card for me, it's not quite condition wise what I'm looking for. I have 12 others. You pick the one that's best for you. If none of them are, that's okay, man. Like, I didn't meet your expectations. That's okay. Whereas if I ship that out to you, all of a sudden now it's like, oh, well, it showed up, and like
now I got to ship it back.
I
If I don't like it,
if I don't like it, or like, maybe I'm like willing to take it, but I'm not happy because I wanted to pay. I paid near mint prices for something I think is not near mint. And just going through that process is, even if someone doesn't bring it up to you, it'll still be in their mind, right? It didn't meet expectations. Whereas if you're in person, we can fix that. Hey, this didn't work. Hey, this wasn't what I thought it was. No worries, man. We'll swap it or refund it. No big deal. Like, it's just, or it's like, oh, the wrong card was pulled. Oh, no worries. Just like, bring it back in. We'll switch her out. Sorry about that. Or things like, something as simple as, oh my gosh, like the benefit of also that, and when you keep it all in your local ecosystem, is that you can also be, when it comes to condition, you can be a little more forgiving when it comes to trade-ins. So when it comes to trade-ins, if you're dealing with someone like Face or, any of the bigger buyers like Card Kingdom, the benefit, the downside of trading into someone there is that they need to care about condition. Because while we have the ability to start saying, hey man, in person, you didn't like it, here's a different one, swap you out. When somebody like Card Kingdom is buying stuff, they need to care if it's near mint, if it's slight play, if it's played.
It's very specific.
It's very specific, which means if you send off your cards to them, there's a very good chance that they'll look at your cards and go, this isn't all near mint. And they need to price it accordingly because, they're selling near mint things at near mint prices, and they're selling SP at SP prices and all that way through, which means they need to care. If you bring me in a stack of stuff and I look and go, well, that cons fetch has a little bit of a ding in the bottom of it. Nothing major. Like if you squinted, you see it, but it's not like, it's not like a big splot just on the front of it.
Yeah.
It's something where I can look at that and say, yeah, cool. That's good enough for what we're selling. Because if someone's particular about it, they just won't pick that one. Whereas, if I'm selling digitally, I need to care. And all of a sudden I need to like needle you and be like, hey man, I know I've got this card for $40, but this one's like slight play, so I'm going to sell it for like 30, so I'm going to give you 15 instead of 20. Like it becomes a whole, it feels bad on your client interaction side where they go, well, I bought these cards, and yes, I bought them from you, and yes, I played them, but now you're telling me they're worth less than what I thought they would be. You just don't want to get into that cycle, right? Because it makes someone feel like you're trying to get advantage or value out of them, when in reality what you're trying to do is sort of just be accurate for the next customer down the line. So it's something where it's like, if something is in like a lesser condition than what you would expect it to be, it's something where like we will account for that. We'll basically say, okay, well, this is close enough, or if this one's so badly mangled that we need to like put in a separate category of like actual plate or damage, we'll let you know for that. But if it's like near mint to slight play, it kind of all flows in that range. Which is something that you can't do when you're doing online sales because near mint versus SP will matter a lot in those experiences. Whereas with us, we don't put that label on our stuff. My expectation is the stuff that we sell you will be near mint. Occasionally we SP, and if it's anything less than that, we missed it in the weeding out process, and we'll get rid of it. So that's where the dollar bin ends up. But it's that sort of stuff where if you do the online, the benefit is that you have reach and access to all these people, but you have reach and access to a lot of customers, and you have no access, and you're just servicing your clients in the experience because you're not able to make those connections and make those sort of like, those little minutia details of like, all right, well, this thing isn't quite what you wanted. We'll adjust it and fix it. I can't do that on a customer digital basis because it's just not possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So selling online kind of forces you to take a different approach to selling in person as well.
Yeah, it has.
And then you also have to balance it.
Yeah,
you have to balance it with the input, right? Because you can't just open up the market and sell all your stuff and then have nothing to sell, right? You need to be able to replenish somehow.
Yeah, you have to. So it's not as easy as just saying that we're going to have an online store where we ship it to wherever, and we have an in-person store where we do something different. The challenge is that if you're going to do online, I think it needs to be a conscious choice with a plan of how you build out around it. So if you want to do online single sales, you need to acknowledge that you are forever going to be chasing the cheapest possible option because that's what people are shopping for you for. They may shop you for selection, they may shop you for reliability, that you're not going to mess up their order or shortchange them. Yeah. But that's a pretty low bar for most transactions. Whereas, when you get up to the really big levels of it, you need to have the volume. You need to have the money to spend on it, and you need to have the ability to sort of chug through it And also, as far as the store operations go, you need to have your inventory laid out in a way that's accessible and easy to fill online processing. So like we could do a more wider open to like online sales in our current store, but that would mean that there would be someone constantly pulling cards like down in our
basically like a warehouse operation.
And we would have to move it to a different location because all of a sudden you don't need front-facing retail anymore for that. You just need cheapest square footage possible,
and
like
pickers.
and pickers, and that's what you do, right? Like it's a totally viable model, but it's definitely a very different model from your LGS. And if you're doing that model, you need to be aware of what it costs you to do, like in terms of the experience.
It's interesting though. I was curious as to like why that difference, and I think that comes up in the conversation.
Yeah, I'd say the difference is that or why the lack of online is I think that online can be a really good business model if you're looking to get a lot of customers. I think it is a model that if you're going to do it that way, it's a disservice to your in-store experience clients, and we want to prioritize that. And I think that part of it, the trade-off for us, is that the in-store experience is a more beneficial one. We get a higher margin on in-store experience, because we're able to charge prices that make sense for what we're doing, that are based on our local market conditions. And it's something where it also makes it so that and the biggest sort of thing is like that example of guy saying, hey, I get paid in 2 weeks, can you hold it, is a big part of our experience, right? Not everyone has cash available all of the time. Not everyone who
especially now,
who's sort of like your regular loyal clients, like not everybody can sort of just drop $200 on a whim. Like a new Warhammer model comes out and go, well, I'm gonna have to plan for that. I gotta save up for it. And if you're always prioritizing the person who has money somewhere out there, that person who's your client, who's your regular, is going to feel like they don't matter because, you just sold it to whoever had the money first, and there's something to be said for, having that, sort of experience with someone who goes, so we've had a couple of, there's one guy that I think of when I think of this stuff where it's, he's gone through ups and downs in his life where he is like bought and sold out of Magic kind of repeatedly, and it's stuff where, when he's come back in, we've always figured out how to get him his stuff back together. Like we've always sort of like, or we said, hey man, like, this part of what you're selling, is only going to be like $20 in trade, but will serve as the core of your deck when you come back in for it. So like, it's something like, if you're always just selling online, you sort of lose that ability to cater to those client experiences and really sort of, have someone come back and want to stick with you. But no, I think that the online is a really powerful option, but I think if you're going to do it, I think that it doesn't make sense to have a front-facing op like this outside of just having someone at a desk where they come and pick up their stuff and they kind of go. So like if I'm sure you've been to the face-to-face locations, a lot of their locations kind of feel that way, is that they are, they have some set dressing for sort of like, some nice staff and some stuff on the table, but like they're really there to fill their warehouse operation, which is their whole business model, right? They want to have you come and pick up your order in and out. If you've got trades, come in or book an appointment and it'll get you in and gone. But like their main function is that they are here to warehouse pull lists for you, and they will get them to you in a timely and efficient manner. It's like, it's very much a
different value proposition.
Yeah. It's sort of like they're taking the approach, to use a restaurant analogy of, they're doing the McDonald's thing. They're giving you what you asked for, and it is going to be efficient. It's going to be exactly what you expect it to be because that's just their model, and that model is really good, but it's not going to give you that sort of intimacy of like, I went to a nice restaurant, I had a great experience, like the server talked to me, like I felt like I had an experience versus just getting a hamburger. Like it's, it's the difference of, that sort of in-store experience versus the online. And I think that they are very sharp contrast because they require different things from your back end. So if you're going to do that in-store experience, you need to have time to chat. You need to have time to like, go back and forth. Whereas if you have the McDonald's model, you just need to be operationally efficient. It works a certain way because that's the only way you can handle that kind of volume. Because like, while I said, we have 100 transactions a day, Face has thousands, right? And there's no way to sort of do that. Sort of like, oh, well, Buddy wants this held for him for 2 weeks because he's like,
not at that scale.
Like, not at that scale. You can't do that. You can't make those carve outs and exceptions. So it's part of like the online versus in store. I think they are, I think you can definitely merge them. I think if you're a smaller operation, you can definitely make that work, and some bigger operations make it work well too. But I think that they are not as compatible as they would need to be for us to want to incorporate them. But again, we prioritize really heavily the in-store experience, so that clouds my judgment on what I think is,
Sure, and it depends what you want to do with, like, as the owner, it depends what you want to do with your business, right? It's what do you want your life to be like day to day? And for some, it's
my
like,
life is not answering emails.
yeah, and for you, it's like you want to be here, you want to have those conversations. That's what makes you happy. That's the part that fulfills you by being the owner. But for others, it might be like, well, I like that. I like having the store, and I like being able to enjoy my hobbies, or and share the passions that got me into this business in the first place. But I also want to spend time doing other things as well. So not being the face or not having those conversations might not be as high of a priority. And for them, go ahead. Like, set up all those systems to sell online. Like, if you want to compete with face, or you want to do something along those lines, and that's the goal.
Oh, I have no actually, I have no ambition for any of that. I look and go like, some days I look, man, this has got like really big, and this like, I'm not sure if it's like got too big for me yet, but we'll see. But it's something where like we've had a couple of approaches for different things like that, and the answer has been like, on a practical level, I don't want a whole lot. I want to like, be able to do the things I'm interested in. I like to be able to spend time with, my partner, and that's about it. I'm not like super, commercially driven. Like, if we make, more money versus less this year,
cool.
It's just something where like, we'll do what we did this year, which is like all of our staff got bonuses this year and raises. So like, sure. Like, I'm not looking to, as much as I have hoarded stuff, I'm not looking to be a dragon.
I love the free market capitalism business. All that stuff is a thing I'm very happy about. I like that a lot. But there's definitely like some downsides to the, I got to grow and have profit all the time, every time, and it's always got to get bigger. And like,
I think
that leads to some problems.
Yeah,
and I think having the satisfaction that you're saying, like, okay, we got to this point. I'm happy. Employees are happy. I can pay my people. Clients are happy. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Nothing. And I think that the challenge sometimes with that is that, it's always easy to sort of like want to push for more. You want to say that if I have more, I will be happy. And there's definitely a level at which like people need more to meet their needs. But at a certain level, you have to look and go, like, I don't need a BMW. I drive like a shitty 10-year-old Yaris, and I'll drive it till it dies. Like, because it's not something that's important to me. But what is important is, making sure that, my staff are able to live a life, to do what they want to do, that they have a life outside of this, that it's not that they're coming to work every day and they're feeling like they're not getting by. It's something where, I don't see it as I need to acquire more stuff. I see it as, what can I do with the resources that I've been able to get? And if that means I can make other people's lives better, I'll do that, because that's, I'm not really a stuff motivated person, contrary to what our branding says. I do like things, but like it's not a defining feature.
Well, those things facilitate the in-person experience.
Oh, exactly.
That's the connection point. That's the thing that you really like.
Yeah, I like being able to meet people's demands and sort of like, get them what they're looking for, and the having the things leads to that part of it. So people ask me what I'm going to do with all my stuff. It's like, the answer is I don't know, but maybe someone wants it someday, and it'll be organized and accessible. And if they want it, it's here for them. And if no one ever needs it, that's okay too.
So what's coming for 2024?
Oh, 2024. So 2024 will be our 10-year anniversary in August of the deck box specifically. And the plan this year is we are returning to like our full slate of events. So we've got, we did prior to COVID something called the Deck Box Masters, which is basically a monthly event where we do sort of like a small buy-in. So it's $10, but with a big guaranteed prize. Pool, usually like $300, and like credit kind of cut a couple different ways that scales up based on attendance. So basically, the more people we get, we hit like 20, we do another prize tier bump up. We hit 30, another prize tier bump up. And that's something where we haven't done that in a while, and I'm excited to go back to it. But we've also booked out our Command Fest stuff, which would be super fun. A bunch of like Warhammer events. But yeah, basically this year will be a year of, we've been doing this for almost a decade here, and what we're looking to do this year is just to sort of like finalize all the learnings that I've done over the last like 10 years, which is, I've, in the process of, talking with our clients and sort of trying different things, there's a lot of things that we do that are sort of, that are kind of like, best practices for us that we could be doing a little better. And it's more of this year is going to be about, being the best store we can be, sort of setting it to a level of expectation of, this is how we'll operate, and just going forward from there. So a lot of like what we're doing is a mix of more events and more promotion of the things we're doing, and more outreach. So more things where we're going to sort of spotlight our community. So we're doing this expansion, and part of it is to sort of be able to do more content creation stuff where we can feature folks from our community who are excited to play games, and sort of show people that, this is a lot of fun, and, wherever you play, however you engage with it, this is something where, you should be included and feel that, this is a fun thing that you want to do. So we're doing it. My marketing person absolutely hates me for this. But the plan is that we're doing our content creation stuff on YouTube and Instagram and all that. And the point of it is just to turn, the point of it, none of it's going to be monetized. And she hates it when I say this. But one of the main reasons we want to is that, we're in a fortunate position of our day-to-day operations pays for something like this. And the benefit of, being able to make our own content that's not dependent on, having to push a narrative or having to sort of like talk about, things that make someone angry so they click on it, is something where like, I'm a very positive person when it comes to a lot of these games, because like, you'll see a lot of content online that goes, most broken deck thing you've ever seen. This is like something destroying the game. When's it all going to end in a dumpster fire? I've been around for this for 20 plus years, and people have been saying that for a very long time. And I have yet to see that occur. Everyone always predicts the apocalypse, but hasn't shown up.
How many times has Magic died?
A lot. A lot. But I would say that the benefit of doing our own stuff is that, we're just going to be the same people that you see in store, same sort of thing online. If I'm telling you about something, it's because I'm excited about it. If I'm not excited about it, I'm probably going to skip it. And if it's something where, we can do something fun and cool and creative, we'll do that. And if it's something where we can't, we'll just leave it.
Cool. Got anything planned for your anniversary?
Oh, I'm supposed to. I haven't figured it out yet.
Of all the things you could do, like the 10-year anniversry is that's a thing to celebrate,
a big one. I think we have a Command Fest planned for that weekend, which is kind of one of our really fun programs we've done. And if there are actually, if there's a store owner watching it that hasn't seen it, I say of all the things to look at, Command Fest is one of our most popular things we've done in the last couple of years. But yeah, as far as like Command Fest is, for those of you who haven't seen it before, it's basically a event where we do 4 rounds of play. Each round is like an hour and 20 minutes long. And everyone who shows up gets a swag bag with a bunch of stuff in it. And one of the things is a bingo sheet. And basically, as you fill out the bingo sheet, you win prizes. And all the bingo sheet stuff is kind of based around in-game mechanics where you're not actively trying to win. So it's things like, save an opponent from dying, do something super like complicated. And it's very much designed to sort of let you play as like it's a casual competitive play experience where the goal is to check off the things that you can and help the other guys out while you're doing it. So it's something where we do that. We started that in 2022. We did our first one. We did 2 last year, and I think the plan is to do another 2 this year. And we got 130 players at the last one. So it's a really great way to build community and really great way to do an event with, kind of like stakes and prizes, but keep it super casual so people kind of engage on their own levels and don't have to sort of like feel like that they got to build like the most tuned competitive deck they possibly can.
It resonates perfectly with the Commander ethos, right? Like for most part, Commander players are not generally looking to like, I want to win the game immediately. It's more of like, let's just have a good time.
Yeah, let's do some stuff.
Do some weird things.
So we have one of the achievements is, attack with all of your creatures into an opponent that's not tapped out, and just yell Leroy.
Let's do this. Leroy Dragons!
Oh my god, he just ran in.
So that's one of the check marks, and it's like, so you just got to hear that every so often when we're during the Command Fest. But no, so it's a lot.
I haven't heard that meme in a while.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's how you know I'm old. But no, yeah, it's been something where this year is a year of just kind of going a bit back to basics, of, and kind of like building more into our event scene again. Now that we're well and truly kind of able to do that, and no, it's been good.
Cool. Almost at the 2-hour mark, so this has been great. But sure. I want to ask.
Sure.
Is one of like the closing questions. Is going into 2024, what do you think is the most important thing for store owners to be thinking about right now?
I'd say in 2024, the biggest thing that I would say is that when it comes to how you run your store, is you really need to know what will make you profitable and successful in terms of dollars and cents. So all of the things I've talked about, all the things about community and all the things about how you build up clients is very true, and it's very heartfelt. The underlying of all that, though, as I talked earlier about, that you need to have the community building and you need to have the retail. So if your retail proposition is not set up to actually be successful for you, if you're not able to sort of get the margin that you need to kind of make all these things possible, because Command Fest is super fun. It costs us thousands of dollars to run a Command Fest because we book out the hotel, we give away a lot of prizes, and it's something that's only possible to do that kind of a spend because we've been that profitable through the run of the year to justify it. So we charge an entry fee for Command Fest. It doesn't cover the per person head count for it, but it's something where that's a way we give back to our community because we've been profitable year round. So one of the biggest things that people feel incentivized to do as a retailer is to cut prices and sort of operate on a lesser margin. Mm-hmm. And every time you do that, you make it harder for yourself to succeed. And having run a store in a small environment, I get that pressure. I get that pressure to want to be price competitive with online, with wanting to be competitive with the guy down the street, but the reality of it is it's the basic math part of it, right? If I'm selling a box for $180 and the guy down the street is selling it for $120, he's going to sell more boxes than I am, but I need to sell that box at the margin that makes sense, because otherwise I can't justify the other stuff. So it also means that your ordering is a lot easier, because if you're the guy who's selling boxes for $120, you're going to sell through 100 boxes, but you've got to take the hit on that if it doesn't sell. So if it comes in, the site is bad, or you just misjudge the market, you have very little wiggle room to correct from that. Whereas if you're I'm going to bring in a modest amount of boxes, I'm going to sell through them, whether it's packs or as sealed boxes because someone likes me, wants to support me, or maybe they got trade credit with me, so it's cheaper and they want to buy it there for whatever reason. That margin is a healthy margin that allows you to survive. Whereas cutting prices to a minimal margin we are a niche business. Niche businesses really don't survive on margins that are as low as some people would like to put them to. And if the people who are telling you your margin needs to be this because I want to be able to buy a box for $120, that's getting back to that range of might be a client, probably a customer. Yeah. Which is something where that little difference, and that's being able to stick to your price point and know what you need to do. So it's kind of make that number make sense for you, is really important, because otherwise, if a box is $110 and he's selling it for $120, he's making $10 on that box, which means he needs to sell 7 boxes, 8 boxes to sort of, make the amount of profit that you sell on a box. It's more effort and more work, for maybe the same amount of money, if not less. So you need to start, you need to acknowledge that you are a niche business. No one needs my product. No one needs Magic cards. No one needs Warhammer. They really like these things and enjoy them. But in terms of you need to buy necessities, this is the thing that gets cut, So, cutting yourself to the bone on the margin makes sense when you're dealing with necessities, because, everyone needs milk. Everyone needs, the basics of life. Everyone needs the basics of life. You need to be competitive on there. With a niche product, if someone's not willing to buy at a price point that makes sense for your business model, your business model doesn't work at that point. Because if you're saying, well, I need to compete with Face, or I need to compete with whoever for the cheapest, Amazon for the cheapest possible box, you can't compete with that level of scale. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. Even if you could compete on the price point, they have such a bigger selling apparatus than a bigger reach that someone's not going to know about you. So if you're going to say, okay, well, I'm as cheap as Amazon, but Amazon's going to get way more sales because Amazon can directly market to all of its existing customers, whereas you've only got, whoever kind of comes to your store or is in your ecosystem. And if they're already doing that, they're probably not necessarily a super big Amazon customer to begin with. So I'd say biggest thing I could say is, all of the things that you see those, for store owners, all the things that you see that is built on the basis of, client appreciation and understanding and growing our community, but also having a firm grasp of, what a kind of a margin I need to make to be able to make that happen. So, yes, we could run sales. Yes, we could run discounts. Yes, we could do all these things to generate more sales and be more price competitive, but that doesn't work with our approach as being, a higher end niche experience, and either someone appreciates that or they don't. And, our model has proven that people do appreciate that.
I think it's a great closing optimistic thought.
I try.
I like that. I like that a lot. I like the advocating for people to charge what they're worth. It's hard, right? It's
definitely
because there's so much pressure from customers.
There's pressures
who
from
want
clients,
the maximum value out of you as much as they can get.
Oh, totally. And again, I don't take it as an adversarial thing. It's, if someone wants the best possible deal, that's totally okay. Like, I have no judgment about that. If someone wants to price shop, all I'm saying is that, for this model to work how we built it, you're right. This is what it's worth to me. And if it's not worth that to you, that's okay. It's something where you're like, we're not a fit, and it's kind of like dating. If it doesn't work out, if we're incompatible, okay. I'd rather know that from the beginning and just go, yeah, you're a really cool person, but we just don't click in that way. That's okay. Like, there's other people out there. There's a couple billion people around you. Like, you will find someone who clicks for you. And that's how we've kind of built our stuff. So it's something where there's a lot of pressure to want to like do the price point thing, but price is not a competitive advantage. Price is a thing that anyone who's willing to can go down to it. So if we wanted to create our box sales for our local market, we could go down to doing $120 a box. Like, I could I could sell it under cost for $10 a box all day long and probably not care. But like, that's not a healthy way to treat your market. It's not a healthy way to treat your hobby, and it's something where, just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should.
And I think the idea of thinking about the experience that you offer, not necessarily as good or bad or better or worse than other experiences.
Yeah.
Just different, right? You're the steakhouse.
Yeah.
That not everyone's going to want to come to a steakhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes people want to go to McDonald's, and that's okay.
We have people who've come in and told us like point blank, it's like, like you're a little too fancy for me. I don't feel comfortable. It's like, I would always I would always want someone to feel comfortable with us, but I totally get that some people want that traditional, old style game store model. I get it. Like, that's what I grew up in. Like, places that were like a little dusty, little dingy, like like you wouldn't really want your mom to stick around after they dropped you off. Like, I get it. But we're not that, and I understand that as a preference choice, right? And it's something where not everyone will see the value in what we offer, and that's okay. There is other places, other stores that will be a better home for them, that they'll feel more comfortable at, and I encourage people to do that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. All right, do you have any closing thoughts for anyone who's listening right now? Anything you want to say to them?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is, if you took nothing from this, is that community is a really big part of what we do. The community it's how we got to where we are. It's all well and good to say that we have all of these cool things and all of this stuff and all these like neat accomplishments we've done. None of that happens without our clients, and none of it happens without the communities that we built along. And I'm always just very appreciative of just having the chance to have done that. It's something where, I get to live a life where I'm surrounded by things that I really enjoy, and I get to help other people find the joy in the things that they're excited about. And that's something where, a lot of people come to these sort of hobbies as a way to escape from the things that are going on in their life. And some of it's just that they enjoy doing it, and it adds value and nuance to it. And it's something where that's something I'm really happy to be involved in. It's something where, we are a retail store with a events operation, but it's something where, people are here to have a good time, and we will do what it takes to sort of, make sure that happens. And I'm just glad to be able to do it.